Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
All right, welcome to the Gridiron. If you can give this video a thumbs up and maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way, next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. It's totally 100% free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel out, the description box below, very top link, takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just below that, there's another link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. We have over 9,500 members in the group. It's doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing and if I got internet access, I'm putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. You will not be dissatisfied, unlike what the New York Giants put out for us to look at, right? That's a little disappointing. But then again, once again, you know, it was the same thing with the Ravens game. Now, I mean, this one you certainly, this was a big game for the Falcons. Now they're right there. I mean, after the Bucs lost, coupled up with the Falcons win, now they're both 8-7. I mean, one game does not obviously does not a Hall of Famer make, but Penix / the Giants helping Penix, I guess, made Penix, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Once again, it's just the first game for him. Hopefully in a nice long history for him. I mentioned this before. I think when we were talking about that, I think the preview of the game is that, the thing that this league needs is, we need quarterbacks. Obviously, that's why it's so one of, a lot of times you can't find, like good left tackles. I mean, it's like, maybe every team does not have a really good left, all the people on the face of the earth here, right? And we can't get 32. I mean, you can get 32 quarterbacks. Of course, there's trillions of, there's tons of quarterbacks out there. But quarterbacks worthy of being able to take it to a Super Bowl, right? It's very, very difficult. So, we need quarterbacks in this league to certainly make it a more competitive league. Because a lot of times, you look at it, obviously, a lot of times, the teams that, obviously kind of down toward the bottom, like the Giants, need quarterbacks. Other teams that, some of the teams that maybe are at the bottom, maybe like let's just take the Patriots, possibly found their quarterback, but now they got to start building a team around the quarterback. And that's why it's very tough maybe for, I don't know what kind of expansion, the NFL has in mind or looking down the road or whatever. But it's every year, you have however many teams need quarterbacks, and, it's kind of tough to, think about like expansion. Hey, let's expand, let's put some more, how cool would it be? Right? I don't know. Put some more teams in, whether they want to thinking about, taking something be crazy as it is about to Europe or something, maybe in South America or whatever, or just get more teams in the continent of the United States. Well, but it's kind of difficult when you need quarterbacks. So it says, obviously the first game, Penix did good, right? Some of it also happened to be that he was going against the Giants. It's kind of like a get-right game, but it was like with Drew Lock, right? He figured a game with Dallas, right? He had the pick six. That was a kind of a very athletic play by the defender for Dallas. That was a pick six, 7 points. Then Drew Lock, right? I can't remember. I forgot what quarter it was. But when he fumbled the ball against Dallas, he tried to scramble, get up the middle, I guess, try to get a first down, and didn't protect the ball very well. Got knocked out. The Cowboys recovered it. I think it was 6 plays later they scored a touchdown. I mean, right? That's 14 points right there. Take that 14 points off the board for the Cowboys, and maybe we're talking. I mean, because if Drew Lock got sacked or whatever it was, where we were at in the field there, and give the Hammer a chance to punt the ball. I mean, Cowboys got the ball down deep in their own territory. Maybe they don't score a touchdown. You know what I mean? But I said, like here, same thing here. I mean, 2 pick sixes, not one. Let's go for 2, right? And then, of course, the fumble. Then shortly after that, once again, the Falcons scored another touchdown. That's 21 points. Almost directly / indirectly right off of turnovers. 21 points. 34-7. I know you can't do it, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. Take 21 points off of, right? It's 13-7. I mean, of course, it probably wouldn't have worked out like that, but the game's a heck of a lot closer. Just the turnovers just killers. I mean, the Giants. Hey, yeah, we got another interception, right? Hey, yeah, miracles do happen, right? But I mean, obviously, the Giants. I guess their one big one for for the whole year would be the blocked field goal we had returned back for a touchdown. But I mean, other than that, we're not getting, game-changing sacks or game-changing strip sack, fumble recoveries, or just just interceptions. We're not getting our own pick sixes, run back. Once again, just another brutal. And now Drew Lock on his throwing shoulder, just unbelievable. Had an MRI today. They will talk more about it, I guess, on Tuesday, what's going on. But, I mean, Drew Lock, it has something, he said it could be just nothing, could be just soreness, but he had an MRI done on his. He could be out for the season. I mean, just say something cracked or something or whatever. You can forget about him for the rest of the season. Maybe put the Beetle back in there. It's like, what the is going on? Absolutely unbelievable. But let's go over this. I guess obviously once again I got some articles here. Just to help recap the absolute trash that the Giants put out there once again. It's just, oh my God. It's just so difficult. So I got new notes and stats from the Giants and Falcons recap. It took only 13 games for Malik Nabers to break the Giants' single season record. I mean, one thing, as I said, I talked obviously, about Burnsy, right, and Malik Nabers. Obviously, there's other guys out there. I certainly don't want to overlook. I mean, Tracy, and but I mean, Malik's had always had something. Seems like a hip, a groin, a this, a that concussion. I mean, he's had all kinds of stuff. The only thing that's kept him out has been the concussions, right? Or the concussion. I do apologize. But I mean, absolute, total trash offense. And the dude broke our record set by OBJ. A rookie reception, not reception yards. That was OBJ. So let's not forget he had a future Hall of Fame quarterback throwing the ball. So, but you got to give Malik, a lot of credit. He doesn't quite have 1,000 receiving yards yet. Hopefully, he'll get that this week coming up. Same thing with Tracy. Tracy does not quite have 1,000 total all-purpose yards, whatever, rushing, receiving yet. They kind of like nickel and dime in their way there. But hopefully, maybe this upcoming game against the Colts, hopefully both of them will eclipse the 1,000 yards on the season. That'd be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, just Yeah, I mean, I said, like you see what Saquon's done with the Eagles, and the only reason why he's doing that is because it's with the Eagles, right? He's not doing that with the Giants. Not happening. But I said, if there's ever a point in time where we get any kind of resemblance of an offensive line. I mean, a quarterback. Yeah, I mean, you can possibly see where maybe Malik Nabers and Tyrone Tracy, I mean, can take their game to the next level. I mean, I'm not saying Tyrone will be a phenomenal, unbelievable running back, but you can certainly see, right? Hey, dude's a 5th-round pick. You can certainly see, right? And he wasn't even the starter the first 4 or 5 games of the season, right? Or else he would have eclipsed 1,000 yards already. His big problem, is he needs to hold on to the ball, but he's been doing a much better job of that, right? Since we had with the Carolina game, right? But he's done a much better job of that. But you can certainly see where I said I'm not saying Tracy's going to be our 1,000-yard rusher running back for but you can certainly see he stays healthy. With a competent offense and all and everything, where he can certainly have at least 1,000 yards, all-purpose yards, without question. So it's a very good pick. Nabers caught 7 passes for 68 yards to increase his season total to 97 catches. That is a Giants rookie record, breaking the former of 91, shared by Odell and Saquon. He needs 3 receptions in the final 2 games to become the 5th rookie in NFL history with at least 100 catches, and 9 to break Puka Nacua's league rookie record of 105, set in 2023. So the Eagles have a very good pass defense. So, I mean, they'll certainly catch some balls against the Eagles, but they have a very good pass defense. Brock Bowers, who caught 11 passes in Sunday's game, has 101 on the season. That ties Anquon Boldin for the 3rd highest rookie total in NFL history. So, but also Brock has played, I believe, in every game, though, too. Had Malik played in every game, he'd probably have more than what Brock has. But anyway. Nabers joined Boldin and Glenn as the only rookies in NFL history with 5+ catches in 12 games. Nabers' 68 yards increases total to 969, and he's just 31 yards shy of becoming 1,000. Beckham obviously holds the record with 1,305 receiving yards for a rookie. Wandell also caught 7 catches, increases season total of 78. I mean, right? His previous career high was 60, was set last year. So he's got 78. He's on pace for probably at least 85. I mean, it just goes to show you, Malik's going to have, knock on wood, over 100. And Wandell's on pace to get like 85 receptions. I mean, between the 2 guys, they're going to very closely have combined to almost 200 catches between the 2 of them. I mean, unfortunately, it's not producing points, but also a lot of the receptions. You look at Wandell. I mean, he's averaging 7-8 yards of receptions. Just a lot of short stuff. I mean, we're not really getting much deep. The only one we have, odd to say, but Tim Boyle was in his one half of play, completed 5 passes, I think were over for at least for 16 yards. I think it was 2 16-yard completions, a 17, I think it was a 23 and a 25-yard reception. I think it was. It was 12 completions. It was all in the one half. So Boyle was at least getting the ball down the field. Unlike Drew Lock, who was completing it to the other team. Let's see. The score was Tracy's first career touchdown reception. Nice catch. It was also the first by a Giants running back this season. Oh, my God. Tyron Tracy didn't have a big day running the ball, gaining only 26 yards on 7 carries. But once again, the thing is, you get down by a lot. You're not going to try to, when you're down by 13 touchdowns, you're not trying to establish the run. Once again, we don't have a phenomenal offensive line. Well, I'm going to go over tomorrow night. I'm going to go over the grades and all for the players and everything like that. But, the offensive line was not phenomenal. He scored the Giants' only touchdown. He gave him a 7-3 lead. Just 7 seconds into the second quarter. And unfortunately, after that was all the points the Giants scored. Tracy also has 4 rushing touchdowns, ties Nabers with the team lead with 5, which is absolutely pathetic. For the team to tie, you got 2 guys, team lead at 5 touchdowns on the season. It's like, and we're going into our 16th game, and it's just so pathetic. Let's see. Tracy increased his season rushing total to 721 yards. That moved him past Eddie Price of 703 yards in 1950 and into a tie with Andre Williams for 4th on the Giants rookie list. Ron Dane is 3rd with 770 yards in 2000. In his 3rd start of the season, Locke completed 22 of 39 passes, 210 yards. The touchdown to Tracy and 2 interceptions, of course, both of returned for pick sixes. Let's see. Bates and Judon both scored Atlanta's defensive touchdowns. Bates gave the Falcons a 10-7 lead, and he picked off Locke. The pass was intended for Robinson and returned at 55 yards to the end zone. On the second play of the third quarter, Locke's pass to Malik Nabers hit Zach Harrison and was plucked out of the air by Judon, who ran it back 26 yards for the score. Locke is the first Giants quarterback to throw multiple pick sixes in a game since Eli Manning did it against Minnesota. I think the game against Minnesota, I know one of the games in Minnesota, he had, let me say, he had 2, but he had, I don't know how many interceptions he had in that game. Let's see here. New York Giants, 2007. That's 41-17. We lost 41-17. We were home. We lost 41-17. Let's see here. All right. Darren Sharper had a 20-yard interception return. Dwight Smith had a 93-yard. He had 3 pick sixes in that game. 3 pick sixes in that game. Chad Greenway returned one 37 yards for a touchdown. Dwight Smith returned one 93 yards for a touchdown, and Darren Sharper returned one 20 yards for a touchdown. And we lost by 41-17. And how many interceptions did Eli have that game there? Turnovers. He had 4. Eli had 4 interceptions in that game against Minnesota in 2007, 3 pick sixes. Let's see here. Minnesota's obviously Andrew Van Ginkel scored on a 10-yard interception return. And Dallas's Overshown picked off Locke and ran it back 23 yards. Rashawn Jenkins had the ball float into his hands after Eric Gray's fumble and returned 102 yards. Remember that against Seattle? That was a 14-point swing right there. And then obviously Calvin Austin ran a punt back 73 yards it was just, let's say, the 6th return touchdown ties the Giants in Tennessee for the most allowed in the NFL season. And what do both those teams have in common? Well, one, they both need quarterbacks, and 2, they absolutely blow. Right? 6 returns for touchdowns. The Giants do have 1, right? The block field goal. But, Locke also fumbled. It was just the second time this season the Giants committed as many as 3 turnovers in a game. But once again, another one of the things is that they're not winning the turnover battle. Yeah, even though they maybe get a turnover here or something, they're not winning the turnover battle. And that's one of the things that also obviously helps you win football games. Which is not, we're always, every week, week in and week out, we're losing the turnover battle. Cordell Flott had the Giants' only takeaway when he intercepted a Penix pass, but to Kyle Pitts. Flott returned the ball 25 yards with 7 seconds remaining in the first half, so obviously that helped take points off the board, possibly take points off the board if he didn't pick that off. If he just threw the ball out of bounds or whatever it was, maybe they kick a field goal, so maybe they get 3 extra points. But let's see. The group, let's see. Oh, yeah. Flott was one of several Giants who returned to action after missing time with injuries. Nacho came back. Banks came back. And Drew Phillips came back. Darius Muasel led the team with 11 tackles. He did really well the week before, too. I think he had like 8 tackles. I think McFadden had 11, and Muasel had 7 or 8. So Muasel's, hey, he's not saying he's an all-pro, but not bad for a 6th-round pick. Guy gets put on special teams, right? And you say at least in a pinch, he can get put in there and play some defense. He had 11 tackles. Good for him. And, what they usually say is usually by your third NFL season, you are what you are. Well, this is his first season. If he at least, start ascending a little bit each year, by the time he gets to his 3rd year, obviously, hopefully, he'll be even a little bit better. Not a bad 6th-round pick. McFadden, the team's leader in tackles this season, left the game in the second quarter with a neck injury. Shocking. John Runyon on the injured reserve. Aaron Stinney in the NFL concussion protocol. Undrafted rookie Jay Kubas was the Giants' starting left guard. Giants' inactive players were Stroman, D. Williams, Devad Wilson, Aaron Stinney, Casey Rogers, and Tim Boyle, who was the 3rd quarterback for the Giants. I mean, just the injuries are it's absolutely just unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's just simply amazing. Then I got another one here. This is it's from Giants SI.com. They give you a report card. All right. Head coach Brian Dable, that said the offense, decided to go back to Drew Lock this week despite Tim Boyle showing last week against a good Ravens team that he could play with anticipation. Well, so much for that idea. Lock, who did at least get the Giants on board in the second quarter, during which point they temporarily held the lead, threw 2 pick sixes, of which he threw late, and the other a batted ball, and which he didn't get enough height on it. Both were backbreakers. On the Giants' final drive, the offense was flagged 5 times. That's all, 5 times. The amount of penalties is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I think we've had double-digit penalties in the last 3 games. It's just unbelievable. Including a 5-yard holding flag against Wan'Dale Robinson and negated a 5-yard touchdown route by Tyrone Tracy in garbage time. To put that total in perspective, those 5 penalties represented 50% of the Giants finished the day with. So they had 10 penalties. So they only had 5 going into the final drive, but they committed 5 on the final drive. It's just unbelievable. That's not bad enough. 3 of those 5 penalties were false starts, 2 of which were by right tackle Evan Neal. Giants finished 33.3% on 3rd down conversions, 3 out of 9, not good enough, and managed 234 yards of offense on 55 plays, 4.3 yards per play average. And that's not good enough. That's not even close. That's a joke. 234 yards of offense. Speaking of not good enough, the Giants averaged 4.5 yards per pass attempt. So much for trying to stretch the field. which is something Boyle was able to do. Not totally shy, but he had pass completion, 16, I think, 17 to 23 and to 25. Right? The longest plays of the day were a pair of 21-yard pass completions, one to Darius Slayton and the other to Malik Nabers, both coming in the fourth quarter with the Falcons' defense in prevent mode. The right side of the offensive line, Van Roten and Evan Neal, often played like a swinging gate, and their inability to hold their ground caused the second pick six. They got to try. They have to, if they don't bring Van Roten back, they got to try Evan Neal at guard. I'm sorry, they got to. I can't even talk. They got to put him in the guard. They got to try him at guard. The Giants don't have a viable option at quarterback. They need to think about a position switch for Evan Neal, and the coaching needs a makeover. Given the repeated mistakes this unit puts up on tape weekly, the defense. There were 0 sacks. Remember, there was a time where we actually had a good sacking the quarterback, right? We were leading the league. I mean, once again, another game, hardly any quarterback hits. Quarterback rush was like non-existent. It's just only 2 quarterback pressures and a lot of leaking on the edges. Deontay Banks cost his team a 30-yard pass interference penalty that set up the score, and Atlanta finished 8 out of 14 on third down. Otherwise, there was a sprinkling of good plays here and there. Yes, there was, such as Drew Phillips, returning from a multi-week absence due to shoulder injury, dragging down running back Bijan Robinson and Brian Burns and Boogie Basham, each recording a tackle for a loss. Overall, though, it wasn't enough. Special teams, a quiet game for this much maligned unit, and that's a good thing. All things considered, Jamie Gillen put 3 of his 5 punts inside the 20, and that is 40.8 yards per punt, the hammer. There were no field goal attempts for Graham Cano, but he made his lone PAT. Not much for Smith Marset on punt returns other than a 6-yard return. And Eric Gray, who actually held on to the football, and his long return was for 37 yards. The coaching. They gave the coaching an F. Coach Brian Daboll might as well record it's not good enough and play it every time he's asked a question after a loss, because that's what it's got. Well, see, what he says, Daboll says, is if you remember, right, is it's just not good enough. That's on me. They didn't say it there. It's just not good enough. You put that on me. Then next week, when we lose 312-0 to the Colts, it's just not good enough. It's on me. Then we lose that 37,412-0 to the Eagles. That's just not good enough. That's on me. But you remember, like what Judge used to say was, I got to check the tape out. Well, what happened on such and such a play? Judge was like, Judge would just pull, that one is like talking dolls. I'm going back to when I was a kid, right back in the 60s, the 70s and all that. He used to have these dolls. You have a string you pull, and it would say something. Usually it was the same thing, almost the same thing over and over and over. Well, Joe Judge was like, you pull the cord. Oh, yeah, Coach, what happened in this one play when the Giants lost 13 yards on a screen pass? I gotta look at pull the cord. Oh, yeah, I gotta look at the tape. Well, what happened on this play where we got burned for a 75-yard touchdown reception? I gotta look at the tape. It's just the same thing over and over and over. It's just, you don't know. And we're going to talk a little more in depth and detail with about Dabes here. It's like, obviously, the guy's playing with a short hand, but there are teams out there where, I don't expect the guy to be a Hall of Fame coach or nothing like that or nothing. But there's other, our coaches out there who really good coaches, that play shorthanded from time to time and stuff like that, and they make the game competitive, right? Remember, like you talk about the Tommy Tupa game, right? Who was basically the Jets punter, right? He was forced into action, and Bill Parcells found a way almost to win that football game with his punter. Tommy Tuberville was kind of like a quarterback, but it was also the punter for the team. Vinny Testaverde, I think got injured. It was like, I think it was game 1 of the season or something like that. And he brought his punter in there because his backup quarterback, I forgot exactly what it was, but they didn't have a backup quarterback, or the backup quarterback was, I don't know, it was the third string or something, or it was the emergency quarterback or something. So they had to put Tommy Tupper in there, and he completed like 5 or 6 passes the whole game. And the Jets almost wound up winning. You know, good coaches find good ways to correct problems and stuff like that. And Dable has no answers. No answers, absolutely no answers. It's just the same stuff over and over and over. Yeah. This is thankfully the game coming up here this weekend is against the Colts is the final home game. It'd be interesting to see what kind of banner flies above the stadium, right? Because there'll probably be something flying above the stadium. This would be the Giants, and we're going to talk our final game against the Eagles, just a little more in depth and detail, a little farther down our program here tonight. Well, you got to be a little leery of the Eagles for the final game of the season. And I'll explain a little more about that because the Eagles are nothing but scumbags. So we'll have to keep our eyes on the Eagles, right? Because they were nothing more than just to screw with the Giants. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But once again, it's just the same old, same old. I mean, how many times can you get blown out and just you don't know, how much is it, coaching, how much is it, because you're so annihilated with talent because of all the injuries. You don't know how much of it also is the fight or the lack thereof on his players' parts. Because if you got 11 guys on defense and just say 8 of them are really, or 7 of them are really giving it their all, and 4 of them are kind of lackadaisical kind of out there, you know what I mean? It's going to hurt, but it's just same old, same old. Thankfully, we only have 2 games left in this season, and then we'll be looking forward to the next season, as we do every year. But there is one good thing that came out of the game, right? One good thing, right? Giants, we're number 1. We're number 1. As of right now, anyway, right? Giants, lock, stock, and barrel have the number 1 overall pick. There's no strength of schedule. Well, if this happens or that, if the Raiders lose and the Giants lose, the strength of schedule goes up and down. We're not sure who's going to. No. Giants are officially the crappiest, absolute, total trashiest team in the NFL this season as of right now. 2 wins. The Raiders pulled it out against the Jaguars. Now, obviously, they didn't have Lawrence in there, but the Raiders managed to pull it out. There was a chance. They had a chance there to go up by 2 scores. I think it was, what the heck was it? It was 20. It was with 7. They had a chance. When the field goal kicker missed a field goal, it would have put them up like 2 scores. I think would have made it. What the heck would have made it? Would have made it like 16-7. Would have put them up by 2 scores. But on that ensuing drive, Minshew connected with somebody for like a long touchdown pass, and all of a sudden the Jags were up 14-13. It's like, what the heck? But then the Raiders went down the field, scored a touchdown, went for 2, didn't get it, but they managed to hold on for the win. So they got 3. Everybody else has got 3. But the one thing I want to point it out was I did a video. It was either last week or late the other week or something like that. What the Giants are looking at, possibly be 2-15. And I said in my video, what could be worse than being 2-15? And I threw it out there. Winning a football game, being 3-14 would be, winning 3 games is actually worse than winning 2 games, because if they win a game like the Raiders did, the Raiders went from being number 1 overall, because with their strength of schedule, plummeted into like number 6 or 7 now. So they had, you don't tell the players this. It's, guys, we need to lose this game, guys, because we need a quarterback. Nobody gives a crap. Right? They're out there to play. They go out there to win the football game. Period. End of story. Right? The players do that. They go out to win the game. Only like the scumbag Eagles, right, who benched Hurts a few years back in 2020, I think in 2020, right, with Peterson, because the Eagles are nothing but low-life scumbags. Only scumbag teams pull their starting quarterbacks out, put the 38th-string quarterback in there, so basically they could lose a game. Basically, pretty much, I guess they give it to the Giants, right? Right? There you go. Once again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later in the program here. But, you don't tell it to the guys go out to win a football game, right? There's no, well, we need to lose. No, they don't care. Nobody cares. They're out there to win a football game. So, but the thing is, they won a game and they plummeted. Now the Raiders are out of, as of right of this second. Anyway, anything can happen. The final 2 games, all the other teams with 3 wins could win a game, and the Raiders could somehow pop back up to number 2 or something like that, be maybe right back in the hunt once again for a quarterback. But as of right now, the Raiders are out of, let's see here. Do I have okay. Now this doesn't include the Monday night game, but I mean the Saints, who got annihilated by the Packers, are kind of far out of it. I don't even know where the Saints are at. Saints were number 10. They got 5 wins. They don't have to worry about them. So they're 5 and 10. They have to worry about. But let's see. Right now, the Raiders went from 1st to 6th. The Browns, the Titans, and the Giants. There's 3 teams in front of them. Now the Raiders could. You got the Patriots, who have May. Looks like they possibly have their quarterback of the future. Good for them. The Jaguars have Trevor Lawrence. Hopefully good for them, future quarterback, right? But then there's the 2 teams in front of the Raiders, the Titans and the Browns. Now the Raiders could obviously jump up from 6th to 3rd or 6th to 2nd or something like that, make a trade and get the sloppy seconds. As of right now, once again, anything can happen. Something can happen for the Giants, and whatever. Win a football game, win one of these last 2 games, right, and plummet out of the first spot. But as of right now, the Giants are number 1. Quite possibly, to take a quarterback, right? I'd be shocked if they didn't take a quarterback with that. The only other thing they could do would be, somebody wants to trade with them, they fall out of the first spot and they pick up, move down a few spots, pick up another first-round pick or something like that for next year, whatever like that, to help build the team. But, I'd be shocked if the Giants don't want to take the quarterback. But the thing is that, the Giants were to win a game, because the Giants' strength of schedule is up there. So the Giants would plummet to probably number 6 or number 7 if they were to win a game. And they would be out of the quarterback market unless they wanted to trade up. It's going to cost you a lot. If you're like number 6 or 7, you want to get up to like number 1 or 2, it's going to cost you. Remember the Giants, when they traded all those picks to get Eli, I think they were 4th. They traded up to 1st, and they traded a bunch of picks just to get Eli. So I mean, if you're like number 6 or 7 and you want to trade up to number 1 or 2, it's going to cost you. And the one thing is there's no surefire guarantee of a quarterback in there coming out in this draft. There's no Andrew Luck. I said this before. There's no Peyton Manning. There's no John Elway. I mean, if you're the number 1 team and you need a quarterback, you take this quarterback and you got there's a guarantee that this is your quarterback for the next 10, 15. once again, it doesn't matter. Ward, Sanders, it doesn't matter how great they look, this, that, the other. They all have their pitfalls still. So, and there's no guarantee that these guys are going to take you to the promised land. Right? I mean, college is one thing. It's called cute, fine, and fancy. I couldn't do it. Don't get me wrong, but coming to the pros is a different animal. Right? So, but I mean, at least the Giants, somehow, I mean, they have the number one bet. I mean, once again, still got 2 games to go. Anything can happen. Now, let me see. Let's see. NFL standings. I know the Colts were. Let's see here. Okay. The Colts are 7-8. They still have a shot at making the playoffs. They still have a shot at let me see, they have the record because the Texans playing. Who are the Texans? Are they playing the Ravens? Who are they playing there? I know Christmas Day. You got 2 really good games on Christmas Day. Oh, the Ravens. You got the Chiefs and the Steelers, and you got the Texans and the Ravens. 2 really good games. Playoff implications on the line. Both games. Huge. 2 huge freaking games on Christmas Day. Awesome. Love it. Fantastic. But the Texans and the Ravens, all right? So the Ravens, they're going to be battling, right? The Ravens and the Steelers are both 10-5. This is a big game for the Ravens. They're going to want to win this game. It's a big game for the Texans. But should the Texans lose, they would fall to 9-7. If the Colts could win, they will be 8-8. Now, I don't know if they wind up, say, both 9-8 at the end of the season, who would wind up winning the division. That I don't know. But if the Colts could finish 9-8, possibly they can sneak in and get a wild card spot. So this is a big game for the Colts. They really need this game. And this is a big game for the Giants. The Giants need this game as well, too. They need to lose this game, but you can't tell. Once again, any given Sunday, anything can happen. I mean, all the bad things that's happened against the Giants this season, if it's just one Sunday, right? All kind of crazy things go in the Giants' favor, right? Tip ball up in the air. Somebody's there, picks it off, runs it back for a touchdown. Somehow we actually get a sack, strip fumble. Somebody picks it up, runs it back for a touchdown. Smith Marset runs a punt back for a touchdown. So, crazy things can happen, guys. Right? The Colts are not that good of a team. They're better than the Giants. Don't get me wrong, but the Giants start getting, Giants get a few touchdowns. They start getting some momentum. Anything can happen. And if the Giants were to wind up winning this game, they would plummet probably out of the quarterback market. So anything can happen. But as of right now, the New York Giants have the number 1 overall pick. So they're in the driver's seat. I said 2 games. I said, going to talk about the Eagles at the end of the program here, why that Eagle game could be a huge one and why the Giants have to be very, very careful of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be the last thing I'm going to talk about in my program tonight. But, got to watch out. It was a big game for the Colts. But anything, you play the games. If you know what the final score is, don't need to bother playing. That's why they play the games. Anything can happen. Right? So, but we don't even know who our quarterback's going to be. We don't know if Drew Lock, he had an MRI on his throwing shoulder. His season could be over with. We might have to go back to Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan. Boyle would be the backup, and we're going to have to bring another quarterback in. I mean, who knows? But 1 week at a time. But as of right now, at least we got the number 1 overall pick. So if it were to finish like this, right, that's when, if, once again, I'm going to bring this up here. If Shane and Dable or whoever the coach is or whatever, they'll have their choice. And if they're totally in love with one of these quarterbacks coming out, right? This would be if the Giants finish number 1, right? This will be the second time they've taken the number one selection overall. They did have the number one overall pick in the 1967 draft, but unfortunately they traded that away to the Minnesota Vikings when they got Frank Tarkenton. And of course, the Giants probably wouldn't have done this, but in that number one overall pick that the Giants traded away to the Vikings selected Ron Yeri, a tackle at USC who wound up becoming a Hall of Famer. He was a very good tackle. Now, the Giants probably wouldn't have picked Ron Yeri. They probably would have picked somebody worse. But this will be the third time in NFL history that the Giants selected the first overall pick, if it finishes the way it is. But this will be a very exciting time because the other two times the Giants selected number one, right? They never took a quarterback. They took two running backs, Kyle Rote and Tucker Frederickson. They took Tucker Frederickson instead of Gale Sayers or Dick Butkus. Another story for another day. But so that brings me to this here. Right. Is it, it's like, is it getting harder and harder not to fire Dable? It's just like he has no answers. He just has no, we're going out there and we're getting the same results. We're just getting, getting blown out. I mean, one of the toughest things, obviously, to do is judges like, well, how much is it because of the quarterback, or we're cycling quarterbacks in and out because we don't have much of a choice because DeVito went in there, then he got injured with a forearm, right? And then we put Locke in there, and then he got injured, and we put Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan back in there, and he got a concussion. Now we got Drew Lock in there, and he might be injured because it's like, right? All the injuries we have, and it's how much of it is obviously the injuries, obviously the offensive line play or lack thereof. There's no cohesion in there because we keep putting different players in there. How much of it is it the coaching? But the guy just doesn't seem to have any answers. I could say that. Yeah, just obviously, guys, just not good enough. We lost 142-0 today. Yeah, it just wasn't good enough. You put that on me. Okay. Then the next week, yeah, we lost 172-3 today. It just wasn't good enough. You put that one on me. It's like, it's somewhere along the line, you just, I don't know. But there's some guys here. Say, everybody must go. Giants disaster. 2-time Super Bowl champion says everyone must go in New York. Now it's still going to be a little interesting to see because I know Mara. One thing is that obviously keep churning through these. They've never had their quarterback, right? So to have Shane / Dable come and go, get rid of them or whatever without them actually having their own quarterback. And I'm looking at the pick six right now. Just didn't see the guy. Just jumped. Number 3 just jumped right in front of the ball. Ran it back for a touchdown. Drew Lock just staring over there. Here it comes. And there it goes. Pick 6. So the Giants continued to fall to the bottom of the NFL in a rather embarrassing fashion. The latest loss, which drops them to 2-13, was a 13-4 shellacking at the hands of the Falcons, who started rookie quarterback Michael Penix for the first time. The game was clouded with an array of turnovers, 3 by the Giants, including 2 pick sixes. On top of that, New York amassed 10 total penalties for 85 yards. All that now is 2-time Super Bowl champion and current CBS Sports NFL analyst Bryant McFadden saying that New York must have no other options other than to blow it up and hit the reset button. He said, watching the Giants today, everyone must go, in my opinion, McFadden said on CBS. The reason why I say that is because it's one thing to be a bad team based on lack of talent or lack of experience or dealing with injuries, which the Giants are. But you cannot tolerate the effort or lack thereof. You cannot tolerate not being competitive because even if you lack talent, you still will see you'll see fight. You still would see a competitive edge being displayed by that said team. We're not seeing anything from the Giants right now. They're undisciplined in terms of mental errors. They're undisciplined in terms of just bad penalties. Once again, double-digit penalties, 10 penalties. He said that's losing football. It feels like the locker room is gone, and that is the ultimate sign in terms of shaking up the personnel in terms of the coaching. Now, I don't know how he knows the locker room is gone. He's not in the locker room. Let's see. He says the entire masthead seems to be on the hot seat in New York, including Joe Shane and head coach Brian Daboll. Both have been on the job since 2022, and the Giants have gone 17-30-1 over that stretch. With things devolving with the organization, McFadden also wanted aloud how this can impact players' willingness to come to the Giants, particularly via the NFL draft, which is true. Personally, when you look at this organization, you don't see one bright spot toward the future. McFadden said, well, there are bright spots. He's just not seeing them or whatever. I mean, if you don't see, Andrew Thomas or Malik Nabers or Tracy, Andrew Phillips, Newman, if you don't see those guys, I can't help you there. It says in terms of maybe the scheme, maybe the effort, maybe just the fighting and clawing, they're not doing either of right now. Their minds are basically on the off season. So now when you look at ownership, what do you need to do to shake it up? I can tell you this much. If I'm hypothetically speaking, Deion Sanders, and you're telling me that you drafted my son, Shador, to come into that bad environment, he said, no. Giants are currently battling, have the number one overall pick, and yeah. I mean, obviously, right, that, with Saquon in there, not Saquon, Deion, right? He wants a good situation for his son. Now, I don't know. I don't know. See, the Giants are picking 1, the Patriots are 2, but they don't need a quarterback. The Jaguars are 3, they don't need a quarterback. But you look at the Titans, the Browns, and the Raiders. Where do you want to go? Where would you want to go? If the Giants don't draft Shador, where would you want to go? Do you want to go to the Titans? Is that a good situation? To me, you want to go to the Browns? They got a good defense. I guess maybe the Browns. You want to go to the Raiders? That's, it's just, I don't know. Then you got the Panthers, right? They don't need a quarterback. Got to give those guys a lot of credit, the Panthers. Got to give them a lot of credit. You want to go, the Jets are next? You want to go to the Jets, that organization? Oh, my God. Then you got the Bears and you got the Saints at number 10, but he's not falling to number 10. So I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. The question deserves to be asked. If the Giants season doesn't warrant John Mara cleaning house, what does? How far have the Giants standards fallen if they actually considering retaining Shane and making head coach Brian Daboll walk the plank? How can anyone trust their judgment if Mara is generally looking at Shane's first 3 years of work and claiming confidence in GM's ability to pick players and build a competitive team? Well, this last year's draft, he really did a good job. He did a fantastic job. Now, you can question the 2022, 2023 drafts. They're starting to, you can see some chinks in the armor there. But this past draft, I think with the 6 picks he had, I think he knocked it out of the park. Did a fantastic job. Now, if you can do the same thing this coming draft, get another 5 or 6 really good players like you did here. Now we're talking, and then sprinkle in a couple of free agents, which we're going to talk about in our next portion of the program here. Sprinkle in some good free agent or two, real good, a difference maker, right? And obviously, and get your quarterback of the future, right? Things can be kind of exciting here. Teams lose in the NFL. It happens week to week and year to year. What teams don't often do, though, is regress to the point where they struggle to put a team on the field for regular season games. Well, that's got to do with injuries. I mean, when was the last time? I mean, has there ever been a time in the past 300 years where the Giants played a football game and at the presser, that's had the injuries or whatever like that? Oh, I don't know. I think we did pretty good. I don't know if any injuries, not that I know of. One of our players was sneezing on the side. He might have caught a cold, but I think we came out all right, I think. Or at the Monday presser. So anybody on it? No, we came out pretty good. Has that ever happened to the Giants? I mean, it happens to other teams. I mean, not every week, but has that ever happened to the Giants? Go back to 1925. I mean, I know it's football, but there are teams, other teams out there. I mean, they just don't seem to get injuries. It's like, they run, they get tackled, they tackle, they throw, they catch, they this, that. How do they play 60 minutes of football and they walk off the field and they pretty healthy? And we this and that, and same thing those other teams do. And we have like 312 players going on IR every week. It's like, how is that? That's just. Let's see. It says the locker room is dead. Injured leaders have vanished. Many players have tapped out. Some are still on the field. Some aren't. There are private snickers about the offensive's lack of imagination, the team's absence of leadership, and the dearth of talent. Now, you don't know with the lack of imagination on the offense and all. Well, what do you're trying to put a basic offense in there, and Drew Lock keeps throwing pick sixes. I mean, so what do you want to, how much creativity, can these quarterbacks handle that? Can you handle the truth? Right? I mean, can they handle that? These quarterbacks can't even stay healthy for a half without having to come out and miss a game or so, or whatever. So, Dable is playing with a very, very, very thin hand, right? Let's see here. And there's a genuine player questions about where in the world this program is heading with this roster. Left tackle Andrew Thomas, Friday's comments about the Giants' future. It's going to take some time, but I think we'll get there. Had to send shivers down fans' spines. Take some time. On 7, the old 7-year plan. Shane forgot to mention that when he and Dable loaded up to win in 2023 and crashed their so-called rebuild into a deeper disaster than they inherited. Here is the shocking truth. The Giants' deterioration into a skeleton of an NFL operation is not part of any plan. It is simply the fruit of Shane's labor. It is the result of the decisions he has made, the players he has picked, and his absence of a coherent and consistent plan. Is it Shane's decisions that all these guys get injured? No. Was it Shane's decision that Andrew Thomas gets injured? No. Shane's decision that Sexy Dexy gets injured? No. The Shane's decision that for the one game against the Ravens where we gave up 5 touchdown passes, our 3 cornerbacks were all out? No. Sorry. No. Right? Shane's decision that Azeez Ojulari winds up getting injured once again? No, of course not. Is all these guys in the offensive line is that Shane's decision? No. But these idiots who write these articles, everything is Shane's fault or Dable's fault. Let's see. Shane would have been better off going by Madden ratings like the Jets' Woody Johnson does. Honestly, it might have protected him from so many catastrophic errors. As it is, the Giants leaking through a midweek report that Mara could be planning on sticking by Shane, but asking him to replace Dable. but that would simply prolong the dysfunction. Pretending Shane isn't involved in every facet of the Giants' current operation is, wow. I mean, Shane doesn't call the plays and, scheme. Shane watches film with the coaches and players every week and has been seen by players several times in the locker room talking to players. So what is this attempt at somehow removed from the ground floor while Barkley runs wild for the Eagles? Well, you can't compare the two. The Eagles have no salary cap, right? The Eagles have a good offensive line. The Eagles have maybe the best offensive line coach in football. The Eagles, I know Hurts has had a concussion, but the Eagles are really injury-free, unlike the Giants. The Eagles have 2 number 1 wide receivers. The Giants do not. Right? I said, once again, the Eagles do not have a salary cap. They just keep bringing guys in, pay them absolutely nothing first couple of years, and push all the money down the road and void your contracts. The Giants do not do that. The Eagles do. That's why the Eagles have such a good team. Now, the Eagles have good players on the team, but the biggest reason that the Eagles have so many good players on their team, right, is one, they're really, really injury-free. I know Hurts got injured, but they're not decimated like the Giants are. They're not decimated like the Lions are on defense. If they were, the Eagles would not be where they are right now. So the Eagles are lucky they're healthy, but the Eagles do not have a salary cap because Howie Roseman can just keep bringing in star after star after star, like Saquon. Anybody he wants, he can bring them in. He can bring in anybody he wants, pay him like a couple $1 million a year this year. And at the end of the contract, have 4 void years and pay them 4 years after they're off the contract, after they're gone. If you look at their contracts, a lot of these stars, they'll have 4 void years on after the contract. They do not have a salary cap in Philadelphia. That's the biggest reason why they're where they are. If they were like most other teams, without putting all the void years on the contracts, the Eagles would not be in the position they're in. They would be closer to the middle of the pack. They would not be anywhere near sniffing the Super Bowl. The only reason why the Eagles are sniffing the Super Bowl, once again, is because obviously they're really, really healthy. I said, I know Hurts, he has a concussion. I don't know how long he'll be out for, whatever. I don't know. But they do not have a salary cap in Philadelphia. They have like almost $300 to $400 million in money pushed down the road. They owe Jalen Hurts like $97.5 million in 2028 or something like that. 2020, one of those years, they owe him almost $100 million. Just push all its contract money down the road. So that way this year they can have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Hurts, and Saquon Barkley only count like about $10 million or whatever it is. It's a small amount of money toward the cap. Right? Meanwhile, between Devontae Smith, Brown, Hurts, and Saquon, they should almost count about $100, $110, $120 million toward the cap at their annual salary. They're about $110, maybe $115 million a year they should go. That's what they should be costing the Eagles this year. It's costing them maybe like $30 million. Well, where's all that other money going? It's just all pushed down the road. That's all the Eagles do. Right. Let's see. It is funny that anyone would try to excuse the Barkley decision by arguing that never would he have succeeded in New York because the Eagles are stacked with talent. People act like the Eagles are automatically that good. GM Howie Roseman built it. No. He is I tell you what, you give Howie Roseman the Giants offensive line coach, and you give Howie Roseman the fact that he can't push all this money down the road, and guess what? The Eagles aren't that good. So I don't know what this person's smoking here. The Eagles' O-line includes 7th-round pick Jordan Mailata, 2nd-round pick Landon Dickerson, 2nd-round pick Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, the 1st-round pick, and Lane Johnson, who's the 3rd number overall pick. So basically, the Eagles have 2 second-rounders and 2 first-rounders on their line, and then Jordan Mailata. But they have the best, if not the one, they have the 2nd best offensive line coaches in the entire league, maybe 3rd. And they have a really good offensive line coach. We do not. We have a decent one who might be in the middle of the pack, but we do not have an elite offensive line coach. Okay. Mekhi Becton, once again, they're lucky. What did Mekhi Becton, what did all he do when he was with the Jets? Now, it could be the turf. I don't know. Eagles play on grass. Jets play on turf. Could be the turf. Absolutely, positively could be that could be it. Okay. Mekhi Becton said everything stinks about MetLife Stadium. Everything, he said. Well, but what did Mekhi Becton do when he was with the Jets? I mean, he's talking about, they retransformed Mekhi Becton. Well, he's also staying healthy too. He never did that with the Jets. So he's like, oh, you got Howie Roseman. He's so wonderful, so unbelievable. He took Mekhi Becton and he's great and all that. Well, he's also they're lucky he's staying healthy. He couldn't stay healthy with the Jets. I know one of the years, like the opening like the opening game, he got injured. He's like out for the whole season with the Jets. He's not doing that with the Eagles. Once again, they're getting lucky. They're staying healthy. Yeah. So, but I can't stand the Eagles. Absolutely can't stand the Eagles. Dave will say, just focus on things I can control. He said, I'd say we have a number of conversations about a lot of different things that I'll keep private. Asked if he and Shane responsibilities are separate enough to blame one and not the other. Dave said, yeah, we're just getting ready here for the Falcons. Hey, at least they won't be a plane flying overhead with a banner this week. The Falcons playing in Dome. Yeah, so. But, I mean, the thing is, it's like one of the things always brings me back to Alex Webster, who was the Giants coach from 69 to 73. One of the things, he resigned before the end of the 73 season. And the 73 season was, we're getting, it's a lot of the same things were happening in 73. The Giants lost 40-6 to the Rams on Monday Night Football. We lost, of course, this one to be etched in my mind forever, the 42-0 loss to the Oakland Raiders, the first time we ever played the Raiders. Then we lost 31-7. The final game of the season in the Yale Bowl was 31-7. I remember watching on TV. I think it was snow flurries coming down. Alex Webster was walking off the field. His final game with the Giants. He had told, I guess, Wellington or whatever, that he was going to resign at the end of the season. Then the Giants finished 2-11-1. They started off 1-0-1, right? And actually, the one game they tied early in the season was the second game of the season. They beat the Houston Oilers, because they were the Houston Oilers back then. They beat them 34-14. The second game of the season, they tied 23-23. The last game ever they played in Yankee Stadium. They tied on the last second field goal by Pete Gogolak. Had the game been another 30 seconds, the Giants were driving down the field. They got down around the 10-yard line or so. I think Bob Tucker caught a pass inbounds. The clock was running. Pete Gogolak's running on the field. They just snapped the ball just in time, and he kicked the ball through the uprights to tie the game. But had the game been another 30 or 40 seconds, the Giants might have scored and might have won that game. But anyway, they finished 1-0-1. Started off with 1-0-1 in 73. After that, they got kicked out of Yankee Stadium because they were rebuilding Yankee Stadium or remodeling. But they went to the Yale Bowl. They finished the rest of the season. They finished 1-11. They won one game. That was they beat the Cardinals at the Yale Bowl. But the thing was that the 73 season was just so horrible that Alex Webster, he resigned before the end of the season. He said, at the end of the season, I'm going to call it quits. And the one thing he said was, if there's ever a point in time where I don't think I can fix it, it's time for me to leave. And he had no answers. He had no answers. He didn't know what to do. I said they were just getting blown out. The year before, they're 8-6. Right? They had shot at the playoffs, and they went from 8-6 to 2-11-1, and they just plummeted. And he had no, didn't know how to fix it. And it's almost the kind of the same thing here, with what we got here, Dable, right? It just doesn't seem like he has answers. I said, because a lot of times bad coaches are given bad hands, but good coaches can take bad hands, maybe not win games, but at least make the teams respectable, make the game competitive. And the Giants are just not doing that. And it's just, Dable saying the same thing over and over and over every week in and week out, week in and week out. Yeah, it's just not good enough. Yeah, just put that one on me. I mean, it's just same thing as with Joe Judge. Yeah, I got to watch the tape. But it's after a while, that answer just doesn't fly anymore. And I don't know how much longer. I mean, one of the things that matters is, those guys are safe, but it's like, what if we're just not competitive and we're getting blown out? We have no answers. I mean, you still want to keep this coach around? So we'll have to wait and see. But then I got this here. This is one of those things that, obviously keeps you, maybe, keeps you, a little excited, not for this season, obviously, but for next season, right? We're not going to have a ton of money. We're not going to have, $300 trillion to spend in the off season and all that and whatnot. But we'll have some money. I think according to Spot Track, we have like $57 million to spend. Obviously, you got to factor in the draft class. Now, of course, if you're picking number one, doesn't mean right? I mean, if you win a game, we're not picking number one, but if you're picking number ones, that means you're picking number one and number 33. So those two picks are going to cost you some money. I mean, obviously, especially the number one pick. So out of that $57 million, you're going to need some money going into the season next year. You got to sign your draft class. So, according to Spot Track, is this? Let's see. I think it was we have $57 million in cap. We're 15th as far as cap space, 57.3. Now, if I go to over the cap, I'm sure they have us with a different number. I give up. Now, once again, this is a speculation because they're speculating on how much the cap is going to wind up being. Now, they're not exactly sure. Sometimes, they think the cap is going to be this and it gets even more. So you have even more money in cap space, right, than you do. But, I mean, the Giants, should have some money to spend. Now, who or whom might that wind up being? Might that be maybe a boomer? A big, I just showed you maybe a T. Higgins who's going to want some money. I'm sure he's going to want probably at least $25 million. Some of these other guys are making 30 plus as wide receivers. I'm sure he's going to probably want at least $25 million. Now, obviously, of course, when you sign him for 25, you spray him over 3 years, just saying $25 million. In the first year, you probably get him for maybe $15 million or something like that. You push some money, obviously a little down the road, so his salary escalates a little bit as time goes by, right? What do you go for the middle of the road kind of guys, right? To try to, fill in your roster, do it, not on the cheap, but, try to get the value picks, right? Maybe instead of getting one big boomer, try to get instead of getting one guy for 25 or say T. Higgins wants $27 million, right? Just throwing it out there. What do you do with $27 million if you're the Giants? Do you want to bring in one guy who can really maybe make it put Higgins? Because you're probably going to lose Slayton. Quite possibly, or else you want to bring him back, right? But now it's going to cost you, okay, because he's not on the salary for next year. Now it's going to cost you, and you're going to basically have the same team you had before, right? You're going to have Slayton, you're going to have Robinson, you're going to have Nabers. You're not upgrading, so it's going to cost you a little bit to bring Slayton back. But you want to bring back one player for $27 million. Do you want to sign two players for $13.5 million apiece? Or do you want to bring in three players at $9 million apiece? So, because as we say, Giants not only have holes, but they need certain spots. They need depth. Certainly need depth all over. Almost the whole team needs depth. So, but where are we at here? Got some bridge players here. I did a thing with the quarterbacks. Right now, obviously, if the Giants were to bring in like a Justin Fields or Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson or Sam Darnold, that's going to take a huge chunk out of the money that they have, right? So that's just a quarterback. That's not adding. If they're picking number one, I don't know. Be interesting to see if they take number one obviously they go number one, take a quarterback, right? They're not going to take, I don't think, would they take a high-priced bridge quarterback? Ooh, I don't know about that, but there are some other guys out here, right? Now what we got? Wide receiver. We got T. Higgins. Top dollar guys: Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, and Stephon Diggs. I'd stay away from Stephon Diggs. I think he was injured. Then you got mid-level guys. You got Darius Slayton, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson. Neighbors allowed the Giants to avoid shopping in the priciest aisle occupied by Higgins, Cooper, and Godwin. It's tricky to project Diggs' value because he's an aging player who will be returning from a torn ACL. So I don't know about Diggs. With Malik's alpha personality may not be the best fit alongside a blossoming young star like Neighbors. So Slayton will be the perfect fit in the next tier of options at the $10 to $13 million per year range, but he may choose a change of scenery after experiencing so much losing during the 6 years. Yeah, I can't blame him. That leaves older options like Allen and Hopkins, who are still productive enough to be stopgap in supporting role. So, but I mean, the Giants can also select somebody in the draft. I mean, if you're going to lose Slayton, pick somebody. I mean, whatever. Pick somebody in the second round or the third round. I mean, I would like to get it. If we get a quarterback in the first, I'd love to get a defensive tackle in the second. If there's one there worthy of taking, but get a wide receiver in the third round or so, right? Defensive tackle. The Giants aren't far removed from defensive tackle being stocked, but most of the players, Dalvin Tomlinson, B.J. Hill, Leonard Williams, A'Shaun Robinson, have landed paydays elsewhere. The Giants just let them go or traded them. B.J. Hill, they traded them away, right? Giants have been left with Dexter Lawrence and nothing else. With no young talent in the pipeline, the Giants will need to invest in a capable interior defensive lineman to take some of the load off of Lawrence. Now, as I said, this is why I would love to have him draft somebody like pick number 33. If there's a good defensive tackle there, let's take him, pair him up with Sexy Dexy. Let's solidify that middle of the line, right? That certainly should help the run defense. But now, as far as there's no top dollar, what they say here, free agents in the defensive line, but there's Odigizua, middle of the level options for the Giants. B.J. Hill, right? Milton Williams, D.J. Jones, right? Cheap options would be Calais Campbell, Bobby Brown, and Adam Butler. So there aren't any premier defensive tackles set to hit the market. That's fine because it's unlikely the Giants would spend big money considering how much they have invested in Lawrence and edge rusher Brian Burns. So that's why maybe in the draft, taking a low a guy in the second round maybe might cost you a couple $1 million just a year, right? But he'd be cheap. And I said, do you want to go out and spend $15 million on another defensive lineman? You still have to maybe pay Kayvon somewhere along down the line, right? You're paying Sexy Dexy, you're paying Burns, and you want to go out and spend $15 million or so on a defensive, $10-15 million on a defensive lineman? Oof, I don't know. The Giants also need a cornerback. Yes. And especially at least cornerback, you don't know what's going on, right, with Banks. Are they going to move him to the number 2? Flott, can the guy stay healthy? They need at least they need some depth there, because when these guys get injured, as all these guys have been injured this year, Dory Jackson, he's probably not coming back, but Banks, Phillips, Flott, you need some guys behind him, right? Giants hope 2023 first-round pick Banks would blossom into a number 1 cornerback this season. Banks wasn't equipped for that responsibility. There's no reason to believe he'll suddenly morph into a lockdown corner in year 3 after a highly disappointing second season. So the Giants need to make a major investment at outside corner after neglecting the position this offseason. So top dollar options that they have for cornerback next year would be DJ Reed and Charvarius Ward. Mid-level, Carlton Davis, Douglas Asante Samuel Jr., Byron Murphy, and Paulson Adebo. and there are no cheap options. So there'll be a ton of guys out there that Giants can get on the cheap. But number one corners rarely hit the open market, and they're prohibitively expensive when they do. Giants need to get out of the business of trading away draft picks to fill holes, but that's the more common route for top corners to change teams. This draft has potential number one corners, but the Giants figure to use their first-round pick on a quarterback instead. That leaves spending on players like Reed or Ward if the Giants want to take a big swing at a critical weakness. Now, they did really well with Phillips, right, in the third round, right? So, but I think they really hit it out of the park with him. There are perils involved as neither player is an undisputed number one corner with Reed and Ward you're talking about. The value may be questionable, but that would significantly upgrade the Giants' cornerback spot. Spending on a player like Davis or Douglas from the next tier is less risky, but also eliminates the possibility of landing a true number one corner. That's not a bad option, however, because adding a quality corner would allow Banks to slide back into a number two role, which might suit him better. Because this year he has not been, I know his lack of effort. I don't know. And then, of course, we go to the last one here would be safety, right? It's hard to imagine Shane spending big money on a safety after letting Xavier McKinney leave in free agency to sign a 4-year, $67 million contract with the Packers. He didn't have an interception, by the way, tonight, so he's still stuck on 7. He had 5 in the first 5 games. In the last, 10 games, he's had 2 interceptions. So the Giants need to make more of an investment at the position after the spot was a weakness this season with impending free agent Jason Pinnock and rookie Tyler Nubin. So Pinnock might hit the open market. So we'll have to wait and see. There are top dollar options: Javon Holland, Cameron Bynum, and Hufanga. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Justin Reed. Mid-level option safeties are Justin Reed, Justin Simmons, Andre Sisco, and Jeremy Chin. Then they have cheap options like Jason Pinnock, DeMar Hamlin, and Marcus May. Now, the thing is, you don't know if Pinnock's going to want to come back. It takes 2 to tangle. Just because the Giants go out there and want to sign somebody doesn't mean, oh, yeah, okay. I mean, it's like, no, the Giants are, that organization's a joke. Everybody gets injured. They suck. Organization's a joke when we play home games. It's half filled. Nah, I'm not going there. Right? Takes 2 to tango. This is a loaded safety class, even with Buda Baker signing a 3-year, $54 million extension with the Cardinals this week. Holland, Bynum, and Hufanga figured to be priced out of the Giants' budget, but safety is a spot that offers value. Veterans like Reed and Simmons could be short-term options for less than $10 million a year. One of Shane's best qualities has been his restraint in free agency. He has mostly avoided the reckless spending on predecessors Dave Gettleman and Jarrett Reese that compromised the Giants' salary cap. Giants are projected to have the most cap space of Shane's tenure. A modest spending spree that yields, for example, Justin Fields, Keenan Allen, B.J. Hill, cornerback Rasul Douglas, and safety Justin Reed wouldn't transform the Giants into Super Bowl contenders, but that type of haul would upgrade the Giants' biggest weaknesses without mortgaging the future, which is true. They brought in Justin. If they brought in Sanders, just say he drafted Sanders, they brought in Justin Fields, then you have whatever third-string quarterback they want, right? They brought in Keenan Allen, right? Now you got Keenan Allen, you got Malik Nabers, you got Wan'Dale Robinson, okay? Then your defensive tackle, if B.J. Hill would want to come back, right? Right? B.J. Hill, put B.J. Hill next to Sexy Dexy. May not be the greatest front wall of all time, but B.J. Hill would certainly be an upgrade without question, right? Cornerback Rasul Douglas, right? If you got Flott, if you got Phillips, if you got Banks, and you got Rasul Douglas, now you got 4 decent guys there, right? And once again, you can draft somebody too, bring somebody else, right? And then Justin Reed in the safety. So if you let Pinnock go, right? If you have Belton, you can draft another safety, right? But you got Nubin, right? You have Belton, and you have Reed if you were to let Pinnock go. As I said, you can certainly, obviously, you bring in B.J. Hill, but that certainly doesn't mean you can't draft a defensive tackle, right? You bring in Keenan Allen, but that doesn't mean you can't draft another wide receiver. You bring in cornerback Rasul Douglas, that doesn't mean you can't draft a cornerback in the second or third round. You bring in Justin Reed at safety, doesn't mean you can't draft another safety in the fourth round or third, something like that or whatever, right? Obviously, you have to also think about possibly maybe offensive line help as well, too. It just goes on and on and on. It's like they always, obviously, there's always turnover, all the rosters and everything. The Giants are no exception, but it just seems like it's just never ending. Like you fill one, you plug one hole, and two other holes open up for the Giants. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. All right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 25 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo! Oh, yeah.